The same French president in France during our campaigns, he was slapped by a citizen of France.
We are grateful that God has given us life. God has given you life, and we are here. And we want to thank God for the gift of life altogether. This week we've had a very rigorous week in Kenya, and we've had Africa Forward Africa conference going on. And a lot of things have been happening, and we want to look into this conference per se, and also what's happening in Kenya and the rest of Africa. And today I have my friend James with me, and I want to bring him on board to help us discuss and look into this issue. Bwana James.
Yes, sir.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
How has it been?
It's been good. A lot of things happening. I think it's a week packed with issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of things happening, as you said.
Yeah.
We had a number of heads of states in the country. What does that mean to the economy of our nation?
The heads of states, close to 20, heads of delegations. You can see the presence of the UN also was around.
Yeah.
And we are told that there were about 10,000 visitors.
There were also these entrepreneurs, or the wealthy people, so to speak.
They were all here, and when you talk of 10,000 plus very, people of ability, then at the face value, you're talking of a big boost in the especially hospitality, travel, and so on and so forth. So even besides the issues of the summit, there is very positive, significantly positive impact on the economy.
There's some people who are saying that actually, just to quote, although we will get time and look into this statement, but there was one senior politician who said this conference was useless.
Useless?
Yeah, that's the word.
My foot. I think sometimes we've got to be a little bit more serious. That should be a very lazy mind, whoever that is, a very lazy mind. And the thing is that however much you want to criticize, there are certain things you really got to deal with, respond to with the seriousness. And you cannot make everything political. A summit of this proportion, where you bring in, France is the second largest economy in Europe.
Yeah.
And the president of France was here. Whether we hate him or love him, in terms of the geopolitics, it is significant. Gathering 20 plus leaders of government, heads of government, presidents in the capital of Nairobi, that in itself is a diplomatic, achievement of huge proportions.
Wow.
Now the merits and the demerits that we can assess. Yeah.
I also saw quite a bit, I don't know whether I can say this is not funny, it's a bit weird, because there was a lot of noise making, and the presentations are happening. We saw Macron rising up and to tell these people, hey, quiet, the meeting is going on.
That can be seen in two levels. I think the specific spot where he was talking of disrespect, there were conversations within the delegations. You understand also there are a lot of deals to be done, to be made. So as presentations were being made in one of those sessions, there was a lot of that canvassing inside. But also remember that this is not very new. When we have the UN meetings or the G8 meeting, or even like President Trump traveling to Britain, there are also other interests, other groups probably that are opposed to his policies.
It is allowed.
There are people who will see the French president here and see it in the prism of neocolonialism, imperialism, and extension of agrophonic kind of tendencies. So there are all those, side issues that happen in meetings. In fact, in Europe, it's not a new thing. Sometimes people will shout, even as the president is talking, the prime minister is talking. The same French president in France, during our campaigns, he was slapped by a citizen of France who was disgusted with his policies.
Wow.
So these are things, I think, the kind of extremist democratic tendencies today, the right that a person can do things.
I will wish us to look into that imperialism aspect.
Yes, yes.
Because, for my thinking is that if, for example, let's even, France did not colonize us, but let's say even the former colonizers came, and now they are coming and we are already in what we call freedom.
Yes.
Is it a good thing for them to come back and they want to negotiate business with us, or we just write them off completely and say, these are colonizers? Now,
you see, the Africa of the 1900 is very different from the Africa of today.
Exactly.
Now, 1900, we were a very rudimentary economy, living by, survival instincts. But now, where we are today, we have a globalized community, whether we like it or not. We depend on each other so much. What happens in the Strait of Hormuz affects
what happens in Kenya.
What happens in Kenya, or even here in Nairobi.
Sure.
And so we are living in a globalized economy. The issues of communications, technology, internet. So the Internet of Things, you cannot run away from that. And so economies have also been kind of joined up together. If the dollar suffers some effect in America, you can be sure that prices of goods will rise in Kenya. So now in such a globalized economy, Africa must find its place. The historical issues of colonialism, by the way, it's not only African countries that were colonized. Even America at one time was a colony of Britain.
Yeah, sure.
India was a colony of Britain.
Sure.
So there are also many other jurisdictions where colonialism happened. But then you go to rise out from that, and that is where I think Africa has not really risen very well. When we got the independence and we got our flags, and we hosted the flags, and we had a national anthem and the emblems, we thought that was independence. But these were symbols of independence. Real independence is deeper than flying the flag and singing the national anthem.
Can we have that explained deeper? Because I will want our viewers to understand that. What really can we say is independence? I thought most of us thought hoisting the flag is what is independence.
When Kisoi Munyao hoisted the flag in Mount Kenya, he's the guy who hoisted that Kenyan flag at Mount Kenya. I had a privilege to meet that old man. And when I met him, the guy who actually hoisted the flag, he was in a very sorry state, I can say. He died, although government of President Kibaki, I think, intervened a bit, but he was a pauper when I met him. And so hoisting the flag did not reflect in his quality of life. And that is the tragedy we have. Now, I think real, true freedom is freedom from want. Freedom from want. So that now you are free, you are a sovereign nation. But the citizenry of that nation, they can access food. They will not go hungry. They are food secure. They can access medication. When they are sick, they can go to hospital. That our children can access school, education. That we have the basic services that someone needs, whether it is infrastructure for communication, electricity in the house, water, the social amenities. And of course, having some disposable income or income that can cater for the livelihoods of the people. That to me is what true freedom is. And no wonder then the former, the late Vice President Jaramogi Odinga, years after independence, I think that was around 1969 or 70s, he wrote a book, Not Yet Uhuru. And I think that a statement from the doyen of opposition politics still rings true today. And probably we can escalate this to the countries that were colonized by France, the Francophone countries. Now, you see what happened is France did not exactly follow the same model as Britain and the rest of the countries, Spaniards and so on, and Italians. Their model was to make the Africans in Africa French.
Okay.
So that Algeria, Mali, Senegal, all these countries, Chad, they were supposed to be extensions of the dominion of France. And so you turn, by brainwashing, by whatever means, you turn those Africans into French people. And so they are able to access resources of African countries without making the Africans feel like they are being exploited because you are French. No wonder then the central bank of all African countries that were under France was in Paris. So they couldn't make financial decisions without France
being involved.
Now you see that kind of exploitative relationship continued all the way up to last year, I think 2025, is when that law and that order was repealed.
Now, maybe that particular law and order could have been repealed, but the ideology or the idea behind, could it be working behind the scenes? Because the brainwashing, is it still going on? Because you look at African, for example, that have been made to believe that anything Western or anything foreign is more valuable.
I think my position here is that, because of that particular approach of France to the colonies, what happened is that now after independence, because countries are to get independence, that movement came in the 60s, in some countries in the 70s. So France did not exactly leave the space to the Africans. Neither did the Europeans, the Britons. But, for the Britons, the other Europeans, they came up with something else, some neo-colonialist, approaches and the theories that worked for them. For example, they ensured that capital belonged to them. So you find things like the World Bank, the IMF, they created the structures and infrastructures that would continue milking Africa, but leaving Africans with the feeling that we are free. But now France, what they did, the leaders, the presidents of these countries became like prefects on behalf of France, working for the good of France. Because the French established military bases in all these countries. So they were there, and when there was a bit of uprising in terms of democracy and so on, then because these Africans also wanted to make money, and they want to enrich themselves with the resources of the nation. And so where then the people want to rise, the French came and established permanent military bases to protect these stooges.
That is a very strong point, especially as far as African leadership is concerned. And we are going to look into what it means for the groundbreaking of the expansion of UN offices in Kenya. And I also want us to look at where our president stands in all this mix. However, before we get into that, let me understand, is it that African leaders are not patriotic? Why will you be in your motherland and then you are playing, you're pulling strings from outside to the disadvantage of your people? Why will that happen?
You see, I think when the founding fathers of our countries after independence, they were very patriotic at the beginning. They were idealistic. The Kwame Nkrumahs, all these people. But then, shortly after that, I think most of them started now finding that they have an opportunity to make wealth. And so self-aggrandizement, amassing of wealth and so on and so forth. And soon enough, the citizens now realized they are not reaping the fruits of independence. The fruits of independence. And so now, of course, there was discontent. And so people are trying to rise up to say, no, this leader is not doing good. We are not enjoying what we ought to be enjoying. Our resources are being stolen.
In other words, as they say, we are now having an African Muzungu.
Yeah.
We thought we had done away with
now there is a Mzungu with a ngozi nyeusi. And so now that uprising is what now caused the same leaders, instead of being on the side of the people, siding with the colonizer, the former colonizer. And so they are reaping resources together with the French and other benefactors. Now in the image of the corporates, because you find now European companies coming to do, whether it is minerals, oil, or even raw materials, agricultural, paying very little. You know, in some cases, 5% of the value of the oil that is removed from Africa.
5%?
5%, you know. So you wonder now...
Not 50%.
5%. Nigeria had some of those agreements where they were earning 5%.
How do you negotiate such a deal?
That's what I'm saying now. You don't know the side deals. Probably out of that there is a portion that the president or whoever, those in power, would get. And so that is content mwita, is what led to the uprising that you have seen in most Francophone countries. Because I think out of about 14, 12, 10 or so of them have had coups and the counter coups.
And a lot of militarization.
And a lot of militarization. Russia has come in. You find, of course, the French have been kicked out. Other interests are coming in. I think Turkey has also come in. So in that space, you find in Africa presently, the military governments that are there, most of them are Francophone. Now, France has been kicked out. I think they are looking also for new partners. And probably in that mix, that is why you find the possibility now of doing a summit of this proportion in Africa. In Kenya, really.
In that case, then, what should our African leaders negotiate in such kind of agreements? What should they be careful about? And what should they... Because again, the scramble for Africa, in my opinion, has not yet stopped.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to set a military base in Africa. I think it's because of the minerals in Africa, or maybe the climatic. Africa has got a lot of advantages. But what should our leaders be careful about in this kind of encounters?
I think the first thing is, as Africans, we must, first of all, we talked about renaissance of Africa. And I think Thabo Mbeki called it rising Africa. You know, Mandelas of this world, they talked about this. And we need just, first of all, to understand our history. The founders of our nation were looking at a united Africa. And that is what Akina Kwame were looking at, Akina Mwalimu Nyerere, they were looking at a united Africa. And even when we come back to someone like Gaddafi, like him or love him, he had an image of a united Africa that could take care of itself. And he had that model in his country. So that no Libyan was lacking, no Libyan. I mean, the interest of Libya was first. They had oil, but oil that was benefiting
Libyans.
So we didn't have a poor Libyan. All adult Libyans had housing, decent housing, water, and education and medication. Free.
But James, I think that's a topic we can really give a day. Because if you look at what Libya was with Gaddafi and what Libya is today without Gaddafi, and then somebody tells you that they are helping you by eliminating your leader, I mean, Africa has to really rethink.
It's a huge debate because they say they are coming to remove a dictator, but this is a dictator, if we call him so, well, made his people... The per capita of Libya, before Gaddafi exited, was higher than that of Spain, higher than that of France, higher than that of Italy.
Africa was defeating Europe.
Yes, in terms of the wealth, real wealth that the people are enjoying. In fact, at that point, Gaddafi was making sure that every adult person in Libya, every family had a car, you know. So now let's go back to the topic. What you asked me, then as our African leaders, you know, meet with these Westerners, I think one of the things we need to do is to know what our interests are.
Yes.
And to protect our interests with whatever energy we have.
Who shapes these interests for us? Is it the politicians we have? Is it the populace? Who shapes the
I think the
interest?
populace must push the leaders because democracy requires vigilance. We must always push our leaders to act in the best interests of the nation, not in their personal interest or the interest of the imperialists. Number two, we must tell these people, they have the technology, they have probably the market, they have the wherewithal to ensure that what we hold is processed to another level to add value. But it is, the wealth belongs to us. The minerals belong to us. As you have correctly said, Africa is positioned as the next frontier.
Sure.
We have the resources, that is the mineral wealth, the oil, cobalt, copper, name them, uranium, rare earths. What the world needs, we have. We have the climate,
The youthful population.
Yeah, then we have the population. And presently also the African youths, they are educated, especially when you look at Kenya, for example. So we are a youthful continent. Now, Europe is aging. Asia, other than China, Japan and some of these other places, they are aging. The median age for Japan, I think, is about 60 years. Now, when you look at that and compare to Kenya, for example, where the median age is 19 plus.
19, yeah.
Now, you can see we are a very youthful, educated population.
By far.
Now, Europe, the West, the East, they need us. So what we should do, we should not be like prostitute ourselves when every suitor is looking for us. We must put a price for who we are.
We must put a price for who we are.
Yeah.
On that base, I want us to kind of shift gears. Our president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is a man who is loved and hated almost on equal measures.
Sure.
I've heard people say this is one of the best presidents. Some people say he's one of the most consequential. But also some people say he's one of the worst. What will you give us as your take?
I would say, and without blinking an eye, that most consequential presidents have been loved and hated.
All right.
They have also never been understood in their lifetime. Most consequential presidents are studied when they are out of office.
In fact, I remember when Kibaki was in office, everybody was like, this guy must exit.
And actually, we had a lot of riots.
And after Kibaki now finished his term and gone, all of us are like, we needed this guy for longer.
In fact, he's a case study for leadership, even in our institutions.
Wow.
And so what I'm saying is that a good leader will sometimes not be understood. Because, for example, look at Ruto. He found the country in the doldrums. You know, the economy was slowed down. The debt level was unmanageable. Kenya was about to default. In fact, it was listed among 5 other nations that were expected to default in 6 months.
Wow.
On their sovereign debts. Out of the 5, only Kenya managed to wriggle itself out of the trap.
Under the leadership of William Ruto.
Under the leadership of William Ruto.
Is this what you're telling us? Is this verifiable?
This is verifiable. You can check. And Ghana was one of the cases.
And why can't, why doesn't Kenya know this?
Now, you see, the issue is that some of these things, people tend to have perceptions. And of course, in Kenya, the politics is hot. There are those who want to get to power. There are those who want to pull down those who are in power. So in the mix of that, there is too much smoke and little fire. Too much noise and little sense. So what we need to look at is really what did Ruto find and what has he done? What are the interventions that this regime has? I don't want to say he's an angel, but I want to say that number one, he put in policies that got us out of that debt trap by, for example, looking for funding that was able now to deal with the immediate payments that were coming to maturity, and therefore extend the risk that was there for default, as now we prepare to handle the debt situation, which I think still needs to be dealt with better. But also, number two, we had a problem of the availability of food. Inflation was high. There was the issue of subsidy for both the food and the petroleum. Now he removed the subsidies for both, and he said, and famously so, that his regime will not subsidize consumption. They will subsidize production. And the result of that was the decrease in prices of fertilizer and so on. And for sure, after those policy decisions were made, we have not seen the food prices go up. In fact, inflation has remained bearably low, under 5%, around 5%. And the other thing is, when he removed the subsidies on petroleum, they came up with what they call government to government. There are questions about it. But other than for the crisis having the Middle East currently, which is affecting all countries, and by the way, when we talk of the petroleum crisis, people say, petrol has gone up with this or diesel with that. Some of these countries, including America, the price of oil has gone up by 20%, 40%. In some cases, it's not available. So the fact that here we have it available, the negotiation about how much, he has also reduced the tax and put in some interventions. And I think those are bold decisions. The other thing, Mwita, the programs that they have come up with, of course, he came in under the bottom-up model of development. But also you see things like affordable housing, the SHA, the markets that are being done, the road network. These are bold interventions. I think for me, like the affordable housing is a very, very important program in dealing with the kind of crisis we have. My assessment is that Ruto is a transformative president. The negatives can be discussed. He is a consequential president. And I think if he continues the same trajectory and it does 10 years, it is possible he may not take us to Singapore, but we are likely to see Singapore.
Are you saying if he does 10 years?
If he does 10 years.
In other words, for lack of a better word, there's word on the street about 2-term, 1-term.
Yeah.
And what I'm listening from you is that Kenyans could not be really on the know of who their president is.
I think the messaging from government has been poor, to say the least.
The messaging from the
because
government.
For example, I think if a president or a regime is doing close to 200,000 units of housing in a year, right now I think over 80,000 are complete, but then you have the others in the pipeline. It will come to almost 200,000 units in a year.
In a year?
Yeah, if you are able to do like that in a year, and then sequentially you do for 5 years, then the kind of employment you are talking of, the kind of ignition to other economic factors that you have is huge. Nations across the world have come out of crisis, economic crisis, depression, whether it's the US or other countries, by mainly investing in housing. Housing has a tendency to not only dignify the people. For example, in our case, we have 70% of urban dwellers are living in slums. Now, when you afford them housing, what you're doing, you are dignifying their lives. You're moving someone from Kibera, Mathare, Mukuru, and where they were in a one-room iron sheet, house where, like, when it rains and other vagaries, they are swimming in water, disease.
Swimming in sewage, actually.
Sewage, actually. Sickness, diseases are associated with those conditions. They don't have toilets, you can call toilets, the level of hygiene. So when you put those people in a decent housing with water, with a toilet, with what, I think you have dignified their
When you
lives.
talk about that, my mind cannot stop roving, because I heard there was one leader who says that if he's elected, one thing he's going to begin by doing is to, stop that, quash that, throw the whole idea away. And I'm looking at these statistics, as you're saying, 70% of Kenyans are living in informal houses.
Yeah.
Look at how fires appear from nowhere. Floods appear from nowhere. We lose lives.
Yeah.
And so if you tell me that the housing can be able to solve this, I think it's a good project from where I started.
It is. We all love one of our leaders, young leaders, Babu, but I think he was off the mark this time. He was in an interview at JKL, and he was rubbishing the housing program, affordable housing program, and then he was asked by Jeff what his alternative is. And he said if he becomes governor of Nairobi, what he'll do, he would build toilets for the slum dwellers.
Build what?
Modern toilets. That's what they need. I thought he was off the mark, because I wondered, are these people looking for toilets or decent housing? I mean,
a good housing has a toilet inside.
And water.
And water.
And other facilities.
Drainage system.
Yes.
Kitchen. So if then you want to do a toilet, just do a holistic settlement.
Yeah.
The toilet is inside the package.
I think the people themselves can make a choice between leadership that will provide them with a toilet and leadership that will provide them with a house with a toilet. I think the choice is for the people to make. And so I think even our leaders, even as we oppose things, we need to move out of this blanket opposition. Like for that leader, our friend Kalonzo, when he says the conference is useless, I think it is a bit too hypocritical.
And I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
This is the longest serving foreign minister.
Yeah.
And maybe perhaps there's what he knew.
I think if he did achieve something like this in his time as the minister, you would be shouting it on the top of the roofs. I remember for many years he has talked about what he did in the Sudan, what he did in Somalia, what he did in Yugoslavia. But now that was out there. Now here is a situation where Kenya is able to bring the world here. Musalia Mudavadi, our current Prime CS and Minister for Foreign Affairs, I have listened to him, and he has given a good account of himself. The way he has handled this, very high level kind of guest situations with maturity, with calmness, with sobriety. And I think he has reflected, the phase of what Kenya is.
James, I don't know really what you are looking at.
Yeah.
And when I juxtapose what you are telling me with what Kenyans are really saying, you see, I find it that in Kenya, those loudest leaders, people who speak, are sometimes even very abusive, they're regarded as good leaders. Now, people who are silent like Musalia, people don't even think they are leaders. You are telling me this man is calm, he's hosting this. Is Musalia really a leader you can write home about?
There's a huge difference between activism and leadership.
Okay.
We need both,
Okay.
Just like we need the opposition in the country. Because activists will always remind us, it's going wrong here, we can do better here. They will make noise and raise attention. And so things that would have been overlooked will be looked into. But leadership is not noise. It is not the man who can abuse most that has solutions for our country. When everything settles down, the rubber meets the road, it is that person who can give direction, who can analyze the issues coherently and with sobriety. It is that person that is going to carry the day. And I think I have loved the way Mudavadi, as much as we may discuss his other issues, the images presented. This is a diplomatic space.
Yeah, sure.
And
Sure.
it is that confidence. Because again, investments, you remember that our diplomacy presently is anchored on investment and what are we gaining as a country. So investments will follow perception. If people feel this space is safe, they are likely to invest there.
Definitely.
You don't feel safe to invest in a place where there are riots all the time, chaos all the time. Mudavadi presents that mien of calmness, of sobriety, of trust. And I think that is, and when you have a president like President Ruto, who is a bit overbearing, a bit daring, you go and cause discomfort. Even you remember what happened the other day with Isulu. Now you need a foreign minister who can then bring the settling,
tranquilize a bit. You know, having said that, I would want us to maybe the elephant in the room.
Yes, yes.
The elephant in the room is the cost of living.
Yes.
And that actually is now where Kenyans say Ruto must go because they are saying they don't have money in their pocket, things are not here.
Yeah.
What will you say about that?
That is, you know, where we say that the economy must trickle down. A country that has suffered economically for probably the last 10, 15 years, I mean, even longer, people have struggled, you know, life has been unbearable because it's not a new phenomenon. Unga, before Uhuru exited the space, was at 250. Today you can find that 2 kilogram packet of maize flour for between 140, I think 140 going upwards depending on the brand. So from 250 to 130, is that an increase or a reduction?
A big reduction.
It's a big reduction. When you talk of petroleum, other than for this crisis, petroleum had also overshot. Diesel, I think, was about 200 and something. And again, the same for the other, you know, they were up. Now, at least we have had a kind of a stability over time.
James, I need a disclaimer here. Let me know, maybe our people who are listening to you and watching you, could you be speaking for the government?
I don't.
Because some of these things you're telling us, to me, they appear to be true, but the government itself is not releasing them outside there.
I wish I was to speak for them, but what I would advise them is that they need a better messaging. And let me tell you, government must also understand that lies that are told so many times, they become truth.
They say so, when a lie lingers for quite a while, it appears like it's the truth.
It appears as truth. So when you keep telling people the economy has been down, the inflation is up, even when the statistics are showing that inflation has remained at a stable rate, then people will believe what is told all the time. Now the problem is that government, they are not telling their counter narrative. And when they do it, you know, haphazardly. And I think this is a time that government should come up with facts and the figures and have this explain what they are doing. Government must communicate. Government communication should be a full-time job. Explaining what government is doing, the effect of what they are doing, what they are investing in what, so that the people can understand. Of course, government has its own weaknesses. I cannot. For example, the SHA, a beautiful program. No other president has dared to do that. It was in the manifesto of Kibaki, manifesto of Ruto, and in the manifesto of Ruto, and also the opposition parties about universal health. It is only President Ruto who has been daring enough to implement. Of course, the implementing has its own challenges, and we need to also look into that. But is the concept of universal health a bad concept? No. How many countries in Africa have tried that? Probably we are the second or so. Now, universally, if you talk of globally, very few countries have this universal health coverage. The US, they almost tried it under Obamacare, but it raised a lot of issues because, again, the wealthy people don't want to give to support the poor people. But to some extent, so many people are brought into health coverage. When you look at the UK, their model, they have what they call National Health Service, NHS. It is a universal health program. So that if a Briton falls down on the streets or hit by a car, they can be taken to hospital and treated before you ask for deposit, for what, put this money here. What has been happening in Kenya? A lot of people have died in this country because when they got sick or they had an accident or an attack, when you go to hospital, and I have done this, I know you may have done this, you go to the hospital, you are told this case before we attend, put a deposit of 200,000.
Yeah.
200,000 and the guy is dying. Now, the universal health coverage, we will now dignify this patient so that when you go to the hospital, the patient is treated, even as you look at the issues of do they have SHA, do they have what? That is the essence of, for example, the primary health care, the social care that is supposed to handle those issues, and then other references are made later. Now, let me talk about the National Health Service in Britain. That service is paid for 70% by the taxpayers, 70% by the taxpayers. And then a portion of it, about 10%, I think it's 15%, is paid for by other benefactors, institutions that feel they need to support health and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. Now, if you look at that model, that is where in Kenya now they came up with that law where every working person is taxed a certain proportion. That proportion means that whoever earns more pays more. Whoever earns less pays less. And those at the bottom of the pyramid, then they are given an affordable percentage to pay as an insurance that covers for whatever health needs. And at the present, by the way, they have brought in new services under the same program so that someone with cancer, they have raised the ceiling from 450,000 to 800,000. They have taken care of the chemos that one may go through. They have, I think, yesterday, as of yesterday, SHA has announced that delivery services, women who are going to the maternity and so on, it will be free. Now, we had under Uhuru, the Mama Linda Mama.
Linda Mama.
It was a good program, but you are only taking care of Mama.
Yes.
You're not taking care of
and
the
actually
children.
not all mamas, mostly those who are about to give birth.
Those who are about to give birth.
Yeah.
But even then, to a certain extent, those who are going for the CS, they are to pay other monies. But now this program absorbs the Linda Mama aspects and then expands to all other issues of health. So even when we criticize this program, and I think we have a right to, we should criticize it with giving suggestions for making it better.
Now, when you say that, I like it because you said it, that we should criticize by giving suggestions.
Yeah.
And I want you to look at the opposition, for example.
Yeah.
And then you compare them, probably what do they have to offer?
Yeah.
And because they are on top of the roofs,
Yeah.
telling us this is not working, that is not working. Do they have an alternative?
I have listened to a number of them. I listened to Gachagua, I listened to Kalonzo. Gachagua said outrightly that you cancel SHA, SHIF, and revert to NHIF.
He said he will cancel the affordable housing.
Yeah, but let's go to the health first. What does he have as an option? That you cancel SHA, which covers, right now they have a coverage of more than 30 million registered people, Kenyans. NHIF had about less than 7 million registered. So you are moving from 7 million to 30 million.
The difference is phenomenal.
Now NHIF was only covering the formally employed, especially government. Now SHA is covering the informal sector and even the poor in the community. Now, when you compare NHIF and SHA, there's no comparison, really. I think our opposition has become a bit lazy. They need to go back to their libraries and do a bit more of research. They need to consult and get advice.
The question is, when they say this is wrong, do they give
The
An
alternative.
alternative. That's the point.
That's what they should say.
So have they given us an alternative?
I've not had one. I've not had one. You know, you cannot make your politics and seek national leadership out of saying this is bad, this is
everything
wrong, this is not right. I'm still waiting to hear this opposition. And Gachagua, I challenge you, and Kalonzo, you want to lead this nation. Tell us, SHA has registered 30 million Kenyans plus. SHA is helping those down at the bottom. I have friends whose bills have been paid to the tune of 300,000, 400,000 by SHA. It has its problems. But tell us, when you take us to NHIF, who was NHIF covering? How many Kenyans were covered? What services were covered? What amount of money was being paid for the defunct NHIF? What was their budget? How much are we getting with the new program? Now, if then you can analyze this and tell us what better program are you giving? But I think we cannot just do our politics by saying this is wrong. Affordable housing, for example, it is a fact. Nairobians and other Kenyans in urban centers, they have suffered paying exorbitant rents, you know. The rents have gone off the roof,
yes.
You know? And now people are living in slums.
Some people are saying, that, and I don't know whether how possible and how true this could be. That it appears like there is a cartel that was running the housing department, which has now realized they are being dissatisfied, and maybe they are now funding somebody's mouth is a mouth for hire.
I think there is a lot of lobbying in that space against the affordable housing, because the affordable housing is coming in to bring supply of housing. These are market issue. When you have, price is a factor of supply and the demand. So if the house units are few, then of course the prices are up. The investors in housing, they are laughing all the way to the bank. But the poor Kenyan is paying 30% of their income for housing. A very unfair. In fact, Nairobi, for example, is one of the most expensive capitals in terms of housing. Now, when you increase supply, definitely prices will come down. And that is good for the common wananchi, because then they can have a little bit of disposable income. What was taken away maybe at the housing levy can be recovered when the house rent comes down. Now, when we have more housing, then it means you're giving decency to these people. So when our opposition says they will stop the program, then tell us you stop the program and do what?
Give us an alternative.
Continue exploiting Kenyans? Continue exploiting Kenyans?
James, I think for the interest of time, we have a number of things I wanted us to cover, to look into. The regime, the Ruto regime, I'm sure has got its hits and misses. Maybe we'll dedicate one of these days as a whole program to look into that. But allow me to take us to this space again. What does it mean that Guterres Antonio, the UN Secretary General, is in Kenya? And I was seeing he's busy putting a foundation for some expansion of a UN building. What does that mean to Kenya?
It means, I think it's not a coincidence that the two activities were taking place within the same week. And this is where the breaking news was globally. Because you are having France here, and over 20 African leaders, and of course other global conglomerates were represented here in Kenya at the KICC and other venues. And as that one is happening at the UN Center, the headquarters, Antonio Guterres is opening the new block, 370 billion units that is being done. And in his own words, he says that he is making the headquarters, the UN headquarters at Kenya, which is the only one in the global south, not in Africa, the global south. Because the other one is in the US, New York, and then Geneva.
Geneva, Switzerland.
So the third one is in Kenya, Nairobi. And now they are upgrading this one to be the equivalent of the UN offices in New York and in Geneva and Vienna.
If sanity was to prevail, Bwana James.
Yes.
If sanity was to prevail, devoid of politics.
Yes.
Look at that global positioning of Kenya. We are having Geneva, Switzerland.
Yeah.
We are having New York.
And Vienna.
Now we are having Nairobi.
And Nairobi, yes.
So then, if sanity was to prevail, as I said, will somebody look at how Kenya is being positioned under the leadership of this man?
Yeah.
They demonize.
That is what is happening. And they have said, actually, that the intention is that in future, even the UN General Assembly can sit in Nairobi. The auditorium they are doing can seat 9,000 delegates. You're talking of that. And the other thing is that they are saying even the UN Security Council will be sitting in a rotational way, that there could be a time when the Security Council, UN Security Council, can sit in Nairobi.
Hold on.
They are moving 140 functions of the UN to Nairobi.
Yep. I don't know if I'm right or wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
How much lobbying does it take for you to be able to convince people, the UN, for example, or even this France meeting, to France Africa meeting to hold in a country? Does it mean that the shuttle diplomacy we had been seeing, route of flying everywhere, could this be what is now we are harvesting, or what?
That is partly, it is part of it. You know, diplomacy is a mix of so many things. Kenya must have, through its leadership, and we must give, the credit to where it belongs. The president is the foremost diplomat of any country.
Yeah, sure.
So he must have cultivated that image globally, that he is a dependable leader. He has positioned Kenya that, you see, having the UN doing what they are doing is actually positioning Kenya at the center of the world. Do you know what is happening with it? They are saying, actually, the UN offices in Geneva, in New York, the services there are even too expensive. And so what they are doing, they are moving a lot of core businesses from Geneva, from New York to Kenya.
Nairobi.
That by itself means that a lot of these UN staff will be here. Services will be rendered here. These people will sleep here. They will eat here. Some of them will even invest here. So at the end of the day, the economy gains. The global image of Kenya. I think sometimes we beat ourselves too much. We are punching above our weight. You need to ask yourself, Egypt is a bigger economy. South Africa is a bigger
economy.
Nigeria is a bigger country. You can talk of Morocco, you can talk of other countries. Why Kenya? Why Kenya? Why Kenya? So I think Kenya has become a leader. And what we should do is probably find a common ground now to move forward and translate that global acceptability and positioning to bring real impact in terms of economic impact. And I think President Ruto is not off the mark when he says we can get to the level of Singapore in our age. Kenya has all it needs to position itself as a developed economy.
Wow.
We are above our peers, I can tell you that.
Wow.
And what it takes is, at times we need to identify national interests and separate them from short-term political gains.
Actually, it's my prayer that one of these days Kenyans will look at things, be a bit meticulous and objective, and not just go by the whims of the politicians who are swaying them here and there. If that is what the UN means in Kenya, every Kenyan must appreciate it.
We must, we should. We should. And actually, look at someone like Kalonzo. I thought in a meeting like that, having been a senior diplomat, he should have been in that meeting. But you see, he can't go there because President Ruto is there.
Politics.
Local politics. He should have been there. Probably being part of the delegation from Kenya, handling certain technical issues. And those opportunities are always there. But then, because look at people like Thabo Mbeki, they retired, but they are still running think tanks that can facilitate dialogue and conversations at a higher level than the immediate political disagreements and so on and so forth. So we have missed that opportunity to be able to gather the best that we have, to be able then to define what really Africa, what Kenya needs. And I think that is a bit unfortunate.
Wow, let's watch and see how it pans out.
Yeah.
Maybe over to another issue again.
Yeah.
We've had billionaires in Kenya.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that some of them were African billionaires.
Yes.
Dangote was here.
He was here.
Dangote
is still here.
No, I think maybe he's still here.
Yeah.
Dangote tried to go to Tanga.
Yeah.
And there maybe was not welcome.
Yeah.
He's in Kenya not only to attend the Africa France meeting, but also he has got a project in Mombasa.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
You see, the project in Tanga was, in my view, birthed in a meeting that took place in Uganda a while ago. President Ruto was there, President Museveni was there,
Sure.
Dangote was there, and they were discussing the whole issue of how to add value to the oil, because you realize Uganda has a lot of confirmed petroleum deposits in Hoima and other places, and still others are coming up. And so they had already agreed, and Total Energies and was doing a pipeline that then will go down all the way to Tanga. And the Tanga has a jetty to be able to move that oil then to the ships and then to the international market. And I think Ruto, in his Pan-Africanist spirit, he suggested, because then we already have a pipeline, why don't we have a refinery around Tanga that is owned by the East Africans and the private sector, so that then the oil is processed there and then the products are there and the attendant industries. I think he could see sense, and he seems to have convinced Dangote. And Dangote said, okay, let's move with this. And Museveni was okay. But then comes Suluhu, when President Ruto is actually in Dodoma.
Samia Suluhu.
Samia Suluhu. And I think she messed up the whole thing. Shaming fellow president that Ruto, you announced the project, the Tanga project.
But honestly, James, why would somebody do that, especially looking at the presidential level?
Yeah.
Is not just this other level. If, for example, Samia Suluhu was not aware of what Ruto was saying, wouldn't it have been cordial if she handled it behind the curtain? I'm
not sure that she didn't know. I expect she knew. Because there's no way those sentiments could have come out without that having been discussed at some level. Probably what was diplomatically unacceptable to her, maybe the fact that it is Ruto who announced.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, she would have wished to announce.
That's agreeable. I think you hit it right on that.
Yeah.
That one I agree. I can agree.
That is,
so maybe she realized this one is jumping ship. Is announcing it instead of me being the one to announce it.
But also Suluhu, remember Tanzanians are a bit slow. Uganda is kind of moving up a bit.
Yeah, a bit faster.
And now you see, probably, I don't know, but I would expect she was invited in Uganda because they were discussing a project that is cutting across the economies. Probably she failed to come. And Ruto, of course, in his usual,
he's a fast mover.
He doesn't want to drag things. He announced. And they followed up with a visit to Tanzania.
Perhaps then most important is, what does that mean? A project of that magnitude in a country, what does that mean to that country?
That is big news. That is big news. It is a transformative project. You remember the kind of situation we are going through because of the war in Iran and the rise of prices of petroleum products and other products because of that crisis there. Now, at the moment, Europe actually has depended mainly on the Dangote refinery in Nigeria for supply of jet fuel and other fuels, because the Nigeria is a bit well positioned near is it the Mediterranean? And
Yeah.
so they can cross over. Now in the east, we are not as lucky because we don't have a good refinery around East Africa. And I think that is what then Dangote is seeing as the gap. And that is what Ruto is seeing. And that is what Museveni is seeing. And that is what Mama Suluhu is not seeing. And so investing, for example, the project in Nigeria is about 1.4 trillion shillings worth. That is, I think, about is it about 20
billion.
20 billion US dollars. Now, the one they are going to do in Kenya, Mombasa, now will be about 17 billion US dollars. Now, when you are investing that kind of money in a country, you are not just talking about refining. You are talking about the labor that will be, the people that will be employed. You are talking about the local economies around because of supply chains and what have you. You are talking about other petroleum-related industries, the petrochemical industries, doing tar, fertilizer, all these kind, grease and oils, engine oils. You are talking about so many other, industries around that it will be unfathomable that somebody would stop such a project. I thought if it happened in Tanga would immediately, within the next 10 years, be rising, the fastest growing, whether it's housing, whether it is what, because interest will be there. Now, Mombasa is going to experience such a shot in the arm once this project is done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any leader that is visionary, forward-seeing, forward-looking must have embraced that project with immediate effect.
Sure.
I want us to look at maybe the last bit. In the conference that was going on, the youth were present, and they were talking about the digital space, digital economy space. How can Kenya position itself or herself? Because you remember Kenya is the M-Pesa. Is the M-Pesa nation.
It's the home of M-Pesa.
It's the home of M-Pesa.
Yeah.
And we don't run short of innovators around here. How can Kenya position herself in that space?
I think looking at that conference holistically, the kind of agreements that were done in that conference, they are totaling to about 4.3 trillion shillings in terms of investments, covering a whole range, including technology, innovation, and so on. Now, Kenya stands to get a huge chunk of this in terms of if then this is delivered. And part of it is the University of Nairobi. The immediate outcome of this, they are going to build a technology hub around the University of Nairobi that I think will include a data center, study center, for a technology center, where all these issues, innovations and what have you, they are going to be done there. They are going to do that in partnership with French companies. We have other monies that are coming into other sectors. And when you look at the totality of that, Kenya actually is gaining so much. It will take a chunk of what was agreed there. And so in real terms, the Africa Forward Summit is a very, very positive move in terms of enhancing our capacity in innovation, in technology, and therefore positioning ourselves as a powerhouse in Africa for those services. And to me, that means real money in the pockets of our young people, opportunity. These are like the training opportunities. We hope our own population, our young people, to function anywhere in the world, as equals, to earn real incomes. And so that is a good take home.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think Tanzanians will never forgive Suluhu for what happened. And if that is exactly what is going to happen to Kenya, and then you tell me somebody says this conference was useless, and then there's a mark of doubt somewhere. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was very insightful and in-depth, and we welcome you one more time, our viewers, and we are so grateful that you have been with us. Please watch out, just consider subscribing and liking and sharing the video, and watch out for the next episode. God bless you so much. Shalom.